But and we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Stuart Tan from Singapore, and I have with me a guest, very long friend of mine, long lost, I would say, until
Yeah.
I decided to get myself back into the online world. And we reconnected. We had a nice chat a couple of weeks back, and we said, "Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we were to just go down memory lane and kind of catch up on stuff?" And it brings me great pleasure to bring someone on this webinar, conversation, interview, whatever you'd like to call it, but call it a meeting of minds, because I think Paul has gone through quite a number of different things in his life that will enable him to give and some exceptional value. So just wanted to acknowledge that, Paul, because over the last, I don't know, is it 26, 27 years by now? You've been in online marketing, and I thought I was like, oh, okay, this is a new thing, but actually it wasn't that new when I first started in 2006. So technically you are the master, but today we are going to be diving into slightly different conversation than you're used to, right? I mean, you've been interviewed by so many different podcasters and, IM sites, JV Zoo and so on. But I really wanted to peel away the layers beyond just the money and beyond the, bling bling that most people are excited about. So thank you very much for being a willing guinea pig, as I might say, for for this session. Not many people are brave enough to do it, because it's like, I might have to bare my soul on this. But you know what? I've seen some of your interviews on YouTube. You bare your soul, so I think this will be a nice fit. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I'm excited to jump in, and I've been looking forward to this one. I think I posted on my wall, like, I've been looking forward more to this than any interview I've done, because I know the style. You're going to ask me questions. I'm probably going to learn something about myself, and I'll probably talk about things I probably never would have talked about. We'll see. No pressure, but I think it'll be good.
Well, one of the keys behind my desire to want to ask questions in a modeling style is because I don't believe that I'm an expert in all things. I don't think anybody is. And I do believe that having perspective is firstly having the courage to ask a question. I mean, how many people have been out there wanting to ask a question, and either they've asked the wrong question, or they've been, like, how do I make money online? I mean, that's that's really not the right question to ask, right?
Right.
Or they are in a place where they're asking questions which could have been easily answered by just going to Google. And that's not what I'm about. I really want to get into the underpinnings of your knowledge. So, when you first started, and here's the interesting kicker, all over the internet, I'm seeing like you're being quoted as doing something online at the age of 14. And then now you're telling me that your first dollar was actually made at 13, not 14.
Yes. So I think I did the math wrong on those days or something, but I really traced it back, and I was like, it was actually when I was 13 that I made my first dollar online and got my first taste of it. So yeah.
Crazy. That's crazy. I don't remember back in my day where if there actually was any opportunity to make money the way people have now. You can easily just go on an Instagram post and generate money. So it's quite crazy the times that we have right now. So I wanted to dive a bit into a little bit about your upbringing, because you're now in Seattle, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Seattle area.
And you were born in Oklahoma?
So no, actually I was born in Eastern Washington in a small town called Prescott.
Right.
Town of 300 people. So it'd be considered a village to many people, and around the world. A very tiny town of 300 people, 17 kids in my graduating class. But just a great experience. And, I'm so glad I was there. My parents were teachers, or my dad was a teacher. My mom was a paraeducator. She also ran a daycare business from home prior to working in the school. And my dad was a music teacher for 30 years. And so, I really, I had a great upbringing watching him and modeling some of how just about both my parents were excellent at everything they did, or at least they put forth the effort, and I witnessed that. And I think that's a great lesson any parent can pass along to their children. I mean,
Yeah.
my dad, for example, in the small town, right? Small town, we had one of the best bands. In fact, they were known for our school was known for the bands. Everybody talked about when they went to sporting events. Oh, Prescott's gonna have a great band. Our band would outperform the big schools, and he just strived for excellence. And so you saw that in his work ethic and how he got himself ready and how hard he worked at it, and it made all the difference in the world. And so it was that I think contributes to a lot of factors there, and what got me to where I am today.
Well, do you have a musical band then?
Yeah, so it's really funny. So I'm the youngest of four boys, and youngest of four. My other three, they can all sing really well. I can't carry a tune, but I will say I feel blessed and thankful that I have, garnered the art of public speaking. One of the biggest fears in the world, like this blows my mind every time, right? Is people say public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the world. To me, it's spiders, right? That's my big fear, spiders. But
we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can. That would be good. Yeah. But public speaking, to me, energizes me. It gets me excited. Like, I can't wait. Like, when I go to events to speak, to me, I'm sitting in the back and I'm just like, all right, when can I go on? When can I go on? When can I go on? And I see other speakers, and the whole morning they don't eat anything. They're pacing the floor. They're nervous. They're reviewing their slides. And I'm ready. I'm hungry. I'm excited. I want to go up there and talk and speak. And so, to me, I'm passionate about talking and sharing my knowledge with the world. And, I guess so it's interesting you mentioned about the musical band. The musical background is all my family got a musical band. I could play trumpet. I'm good at that. I can't sing. I don't play guitar, but I do public speaking. So it's really funny in that regards, but I'm a little bit different, I guess, than the norm.
Well, I suppose it comes also from the fact that both of your parents were teachers. Both of my parents were teachers.
Okay, they were nice.
But were you always like this energized, full of life and so on in school?
Yeah, I was. So, going to a small school, so it was really funny. I found this out as I got older, but, being the youngest of four boys and in a small school, how it works is it's kindergarten through 12th grade in the same, school complex, right? So the teachers is really funny, I guess. I found this out later in life. They would say stories to the next teachers, and they would say, watch out, the youngest counts. He's not like the other ones. He's a little bit different. And, and I think it was just different because I did things a little differently. I started selling pencils in the second grade. I mean, I was 8 years old and I started to uncover my first niche. I mean, I saw that kids did not come to class prepared with pencils. So I started selling them pencils for 25 cents each. So, and
okay, so where did that come from, Paul? Where did that entrepreneurial spirit come from?
Yeah, so it's really funny because of all my family members, right, I'm the only one that did not also get a degree in college. I didn't graduate college. My parents were entrepreneurs. I did have a conversation. There was an uncle of mine that I think it kind of sparked a lot of this just entrepreneurial passion for me was, I had a conversation about becoming a friend of his became a multi-millionaire on UPS stock. Like, I remember this conversation, like when I was a young kid. And I think that spurred on some of my, passion for entrepreneurship and just the idea. And I think that drove it. But then, the thing is, even though my parents didn't own a business, they still taught me the principles of hard work, dedication, excellence, and they supported me. Even though I wasn't like maybe the other brothers in the stuff I would do, my mom bought pencils for me to sell. Like, she bought my inventory. They would, they would take like some of the craziest things. I mean, in fourth grade, I'll give you a funny story. We went to a college football game, Washington State University, and this is American football, the pigskin. So, so American football game. It was I was in fourth grade. My first college football game. I saw these kids running around on the field. And I looked to my parents and I said, I'm going to be those kids someday. I'm going to be those kids, not playing the game, but I saw these kids that were ball boys, right? They're running around the field. And, I told my parents, I said, I will be that kid, I'm going to be that person. And they, they said, okay. I started writing letters to the college, to the, college football coach. They referred me to somebody. The next thing you know, my parents are committing to driving me 2.5 hours every single game day so I can work on the sidelines at these games,
Oh,
So, and it's just one of those funny stories that, like I have a picture too. I'll send the picture to you so you can add it into this interview because it's really a funny picture. But, I think the cool part about that is the life lessons I gained from that, the experience I gained. And here, like, I mean, I look back and I'm like, my goodness, my parents supported me every game day. I had a crazy vision, a crazy idea. I was a kid that was like, I'm a kid from a small town. Nobody else from from the smaller towns had that opportunity. The job I did was only to coach his kids. And here I was, a kid going, I'm going to do that too. And so I've always just had that drive in me to be, different. And at the same time I was doing that, I'd started my internet business because I was 13, I was starting to sell
ah,
stuff. So it's always just been, I guess I've a little bit different in the way I tick and run things.
right. Okay, so you had an influence from your both your parents
Yeah.
were supportive.
Yeah.
Um, I I suspect, okay, since because one of the things about music is a lot of people forget that music is an algorithm, and
Yeah.
maybe that explains why you do SEO and all that kind of stuff so well.
That's a
it's
good
just
point. Yeah.
sort of like a logical process of getting things done toward a specific outcome. So I suppose that there must be some kind of chaos, some kind of method in the madness, in the chaos. And that's one of the reasons why I'm chasing down some of these pathways. How does our upbringing actually influence us? I'm
Yeah.
hearing the way your parents taught you about hard work. What did your parents teach you about money?
About money, they taught me some good lessons about money. They taught me, they would say the mistakes they made, like
Oh,
about, they would tell you if it was a mistake. They would explain those kind of things to you, and then you learn, to model those behaviors, and you learn to, so they would talk to you about money in that regards, and so it was good. So they were very open about those topics, and so they would work with you on that.
how
So it was
about
very
the belief that you can be, wealthy?
yeah.
Did any of that kind of conversation came up?
It was interesting. They never really had the conversation, I would say, where they said you can be anything you want, but they never, it wasn't like they directly told me, yeah, you can be whatever you want, but they were always supportive, right? So they never had to, because even though I had all these crazy visions, they knew I wanted to have a business. They were very supportive of that. They knew, I mean, the thing is, at 13 years old, when I started selling, my first sales online, right? They were part of that process, because they were
Hmm.
supportive. They agreed to let me do this. They agreed to, they helped make sure I had the internet that I needed. It was dial-up internet back then,
Yep.
They made sure I had what I needed to succeed. They knew I had this passion. They would drive me to business meetings. Here I was at 14 years old, back, 14, 15, doing phone calls in the car while they would drive me to sell t-shirts, embroidered shirts to people. And to go 3-4 hours away to Spokane, which is where this apparel store was, that we would sell custom, like embroidered shirts like this,
Yeah.
and my parents were just very supportive in that. So I never ever felt like, I knew I could be whatever I wanted, because they gave me that empowerment, if you will, like to feel like I could be whatever I wanted to be.
Okay, so here's the question, because on the internet, when anyone tries to start up an online business,
Yeah.
there are always these limitations, excuses, and all these kinds of whether human made or real physical issues. How did that? Because obviously you sold some programs, coaching or otherwise,
Yeah.
to some of these people online, right? Especially with newbies and so on. Um, how what was your experience having first met someone who was not as empowered as you, someone who was really limited, limited resources, limited ways of thinking? Um, how did that strike you?
Yeah, so it takes you a little bit to understand, like, you have to understand where people are. Like, that's one of the things I've learned, is you have to have empathy for where people are in their journey in life, or wherever
Mhm.
they're at. And so that really has enabled me to, I feel like, connect with my audience in a unique way.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that really took me to a new level on the internet was, I went with the struggles that I had when I first started my business. And I said, I'm going to fix this issue. And I think any business owner should do that. And I'll give you an example. You remember the Warrior Forum, right?
Yep.
Yeah, way back, Warrior Forum. I was one of the first people in the Warrior Forum to sell, well, I was the first one to sell private labor rights video courses. Nobody else had done that at that point, and so I saw a need. I was like, we need quality step-by-step video. Some people had already, Jimmy D. Brown and other great ones had started selling PLR, but nobody had sold video PLR yet. So I saw a need right there. I said, I'm going to fill that. The other thing that was going on in the Warrior Forum at that time is people were, there was also a lot of people that would get upset if you priced something very high in the Warrior Forum. Everything was $7 or less. Remember that? $7, $9. Like people would be very like, you would hear about it if you priced something too high. This is a special offer. So I went in there and priced something at $67 and I sold a lot. And it's because it started to get positive feedback. And so I guess to answer that question that you were saying about, I put myself in their shoes, where they are in their journey. And I saw the struggles I had. And so I wanted to make sure that I remember specifically, I told myself, I'm not going to leave out the missing pieces because I knew now for me, I had the grit and the perseverance to keep going. So when I'd hit a roadblock, I would get knocked down and get back up again and keep going. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want other people to have to go through those same roadblocks. So that's why, a lot of my courses, as people have told me, they're very step-by-step oriented. It's you do this first, you do this next, you do this next. Because what I found is a lot of the training courses and a lot of the coaching programs and ebooks and everything, they would assume that you knew stuff, right? They would assume that you would know stuff. I have a technical training I do. We start at register your domain and then do this. And this is how you register your domain. Because I've learned, you can't assume that they know, right? And so, but by doing that, that actually helped put me on a different pedestal or in the business world, right? In the online business world, that people are like, oh, stuff's different. And, so just having that empathy makes a big difference.
Yeah, I suppose also because you are, when you take the steps to go through everything, you probably notice that there's a distinction between what other people have done and what you do, and what other people's complaints are about other products versus yours, right? So it gives a little bit more of clarity, I suppose, what people are missing. I mean, it's this whole thing about like in COVID-19, we had this entire issue with, going online, going on webinars and all that. And everybody assumes that everyone else knows how to use Zoom. So I was just in a training program, and this lady did not know how to do screen share. To the to the absolute horror of everyone else in the room. Is like, what? You don't know how to use screen share? But hey, you got to give some people a break. This may have been the very first usage of the platform. So I appreciate that. And one of the things that I remember hearing about you was that you were actually interested in becoming a sportscaster, right? You go into sport and so on. So tell me a little bit about your sport journey. How far did you go?
Yeah, so I went pretty far. So I mean, it was interesting. I was still in high school. I mean, I did so many different things. I remember somebody said this about me when I was a senior in high school. They said, "Paul, you have lived more by 18 than most people live until when they're 65." Like I had just done so many things, just trying different things because I wanted to. I grew up thinking, okay, I want to have a job in sports, and so I did dabble in that. That was one thing. I'm never afraid to try something new. So I started my internet business at 13. I was also at the same time a sports writer for a newspaper called the Valley Times in the area. So I wrote their sports articles, and I would get paid to write sports articles.
Wow.
I also on Saturday figured out a way to get paid. On Saturdays, I'd get paid to watch my college team play, the Washington State Cougars. There we go. So I would get paid to watch my Washington State Cougars play, but with a company called Stats Inc. And I would get paid to record stats, because I wanted to experience what that was. Literally, you would watch, a lot of people don't realize this, but when you watch sporting events, they have like the live statistics that are coming in. Well, back in the day, I don't know if they still do that. They actually had 5 or 10 different people watching every single game, and you would put in the statistics of what just happened, so it would upload to the internet, update it. And so I would do that from my dial-up internet at home on a little old laptop, and I would get paid $75, $80 to watch a football game from my house, So, so I did that. And then I was working the home games. I would be a ball boy. And then after that, I would go up and interview the coaches because I had a press pass. And so I learned how to do these things. And it's because I wanted to try these different areas. And so I wanted to be a sports writer. The other thing that happened is I've also one where I'm not afraid to ask questions. And I've learned if you want to be successful, you can't be afraid to ask questions, to talk to people, because the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no, right? Like they're going to say no. And so, one of the things of this, I went and talked to somebody in the sports caster field. I got to know a few people in that arena. They told me a valuable lesson. They said, Paul, they said, if you want to have no kids, no life, and you want to get paid very little money, this would be a great career for you. And at that point, I was like, nope, I don't want that, So this guy was a sports information director at Washington State University, very big college, right? And he just told me point blank, Paul, if this is what you want to do, he's like, this is what you need to be prepared for. And he was retiring, he was getting close to retirement, and this was his life. And, I was like, I don't want that for my future. And so it was good.
You didn't have any skepticism about his advice? I mean, like, it could have, hindsight, it could have been like, oh, this guy's just trying to punk you or something,
Yeah, so it wasn't just him. There was another sportscaster I talked to that was, the smaller market, right? I talked to another one. I don't just talk to one, right? So I found another guy. I found, and it just came out like that he had a part-time job, right? Come to find out, their starting salary was like $20,000 to be in the news field. And I was like, ooh, and at that point, where I really wanted to go in sports, though, that was kind of changed things for me from a sports, caster angle. I decided at that point I wanted to, I wanted to actually explore coaching as well. So I did dabble in that. So I was too small in school, very, very skinny. My parents were worried I would get hurt, so I never played football, but I loved football. I mean, I was working on the sidelines. I would write about football. So I started to be an assistant coach my junior and senior year of high school. And then there was an opportunity to be a coach of a semi-pro team my senior year of high school. And at that point, I did go through those steps. I reached out to college football coaches. I actually this is a very interesting point. I had a juncture in my life where I chose, instead of, it frustrates me at times to this day, but then I also look at how my life turned out and I'm like, okay, there was a reason, But I could have chosen to, a head football coach at a major college had given me a possible opportunity to be a student assistant coach, which could have led to a whole new path, new direction. And I've talked to other entrepreneurs like me that have had similar, Eric Coleman's one, where he could have gone a different direction into the world of being an Olympian, but he chose a different path. I mean, you just never know which, where life will go. And I had that opportunity. I decided to go towards, getting married and at a very young age and going into, doing online business really at that point. And I mean, I already been doing the business, but then really just shifting my focus to, okay, I'm going to be a business person and see where it goes. But, I still have those moments where you sit back and you go, what could have been, could I have been I know I would have been great at it. I know I could have done it. It doesn't mean that vision has to die either. So,
well, what I was really curious about is why sportscasting? Was it because of the excitement, the energy, and
I think the energy, excitement, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Which you can tell I get energetic and excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're not losing anything. You could be doing sports. Internet marketing is a kind of sport if you think about it that way.
It is, right? And
so,
and I look at the coaching part, and I'm like, well, I'm coaching people on the internet now, so it's really fascinating.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. In fact, I think it's you have a better reach. You're impacting more people in that sense. I mean, I was taking a look at the Real Guys blog. The one where you put up 3 videos. Yourself and Jeff were in the first couple of videos, and I couldn't believe it when I saw the hundreds of comments that were being churned out as a result of that. It's like, wow, you really made a drastic impact on these people. So tell me, what was that point in time where you decided, okay, it's better to join forces and it's better to do this thing called the Real Guys? What was on your mind at that point of time?
Yeah, so it was one of those where we had met at a conference, and I can tell you that everything I've ever done. And you and I met at a conference, right? 2007, we met, and every great business relationship I've ever had was either somebody I met at a conference or I met through somebody who I met at a conference, right? So, I mean, it just all comes full circle. We had met at a conference, different conferences, Eric Holmland, Jeff Wellman, and I. Eric Holmland was actually a customer of mine. So he would buy my PLR and he would rebrand it. Now, again, Eric was somebody I really respected. And my buyers list used to read, like, I used to get starstruck, right? Because I'm like, oh my goodness, this marketer bought my product. And I used to read about him. And, I think my biggest one was like, there was a guy that, you remember the person that sold the Brooklyn Bridge? Paul Hartunian was his name. I don't know if you remember. He sold like press releases. Yeah, he did. Yeah, very, very famous. He started to buy my PLR too. And I was like, whoa, like I've got something here. Like these guys, the OGs of direct response, and they were buying my products and relicensing it. So Eric Holmland was one of those. And so finally, I kind of noticed that Eric, at that point, Jeff Wellman and I had started something called Rapid Cash Marketing, which is a product that we had made about teach people how to get started quickly. Jeff at that point had launched Lay Off Your Boss, his program. We got really connected, our personalities clicked, and we formed a partnership. So then we decided, hey, let's take this to another level. Let's meet up with Eric Holmland. And we really just started framing this thing out. And within a few months, we had started to create like, okay, this is going to be our angle. We're three regular guys that have families. We drive minivans. We really, one of the reasons we really launched with this whole angle, it was exactly who we were. We were very honest and real. But at that point on ClickBank, I'm sure you remember that day of the Mr. X and the Mr. This, and nobody would say their real name, right? It was all scammy. It was all hypey. It was all just like, just crummy products. That was keyword research software, the big thing, which quite honestly, of this day, it's video software. And it's all these little fake software programs people launch, right? One-time fee software programs that are just, but that was keyword research software back in the day. And these guys would launch this software. They didn't work. They would, product refund rates were 30, 40%, like just ridiculous, And so, and they would do the fake video sales letters. They would hire the scantily clad women. They would get the fancy cars, like that was all selling the lifestyle, right? And so we just said, hey, let's make a total shift in the industry, call ourselves the real guys, use our real faces, use our name, be different from everybody else. And that angle just blew up. Like our first few products did extremely well. And that venture, really drove a lot of, a huge amount of revenue, but most importantly impacted thousands and thousands of lives around the world. But it was really just making a shift in the marketplace, being different and looking at the current state of the market and saying, this is our niche. We have a chance to be different from everybody else. And that's what we did.
Okay. I know we've kind of talked about this before, but when it comes to the right kind of angle at the right time, obviously things have shifted along the way. So what were some of the things that got you guys to kind of like, okay, well, it's time to move on from this space?
Oh yeah, from like kind of going out of, with the real guys and kind of going that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, there's still a lot of like, I would never say I'm out of internet marketing in itself, but there have been some things that have changed dramatically as you and I have discussed. And, a couple of those things is there is it's become very cliquish. It's become less about the internet marketing space. To me, one of the biggest problems in this space right now facing this industry is it's less about how that product's going to help the end user. And it's become more about, did you promote for me? And if you did, I'll promote for you. So it's everybody just helping each other back. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. Nobody looks at the quality of the product. Nobody looks at, does the product even work? Nobody looks at, is it a product that's going to add value into somebody's life? Nobody else looks at, wasn't this product just launched last week, but now it's under a different name? That's the biggest thing in this industry that's given it a black eye, that has really made it, made it to the point where customers don't buy like they used to. Customers are more skeptical than they've ever been. There is still money to be made in this space. There's still lots of money to be made. And you'll never hear me like, this is something I will never do. I will never say I'm retiring from internet marketing. I'm not, you know. And I said that quickly because I didn't want somebody to cut this together and try to say I am. I'm not, you know, I'm not retiring from the space, because this space goes in cycles as well. We're in kind of a, you know, a little bit of a down. It's going to rise back up, and the cream always rises to the top. And this happened back in 2011. It happened again in 2000. You know, about, well, 2008, we had a little, you know, little bust that happened. 2011 it happened again, and I see it happening right now where people are starting to get called out for creating their crummy products and having that garbage, you know, that they put out. And back in the day, you remember, Stuart, we used to promote for each other because you offered something that my list would like, I offered something your list would appreciate, and then we would support each other. And it didn't mean that you had to say, hey, Paul, I promoted for you, so you owe me one. Like, it wasn't that way. If it was a good fit, we would help each other. Now it's become, you know, only about, did you promote for me? I'll promote for you. And that's so wrong, because at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that suffers. You should promote a product if it's going to add value to your list. Quite frankly, that's why I started to create products again, because I thought there's not much else I can promote. I went to the forums and the sites and, you know, the different platforms, and I was like, there's nothing to promote. Like, literally, like, you could go 2 weeks, 3 weeks with nothing to promote, you know, that's worth even putting my name on it. And now it's getting, you know, there's still some good stuff out there, but that was one of the things I was just like, you know, I don't want to be in this industry. Also, the internet marketing niche is extremely small. It's an extremely tiny industry. You know, I know that's shocking to some people, but it is. When you start getting out into the world, you do corporate training, right? You can attest to this, and you get out to the real world. That's when we started really, for me, it was a shift to focus to go more online and, you know, really focus or to helping businesses and corporations and, you know, nonprofits and large organizations learn how to better market themselves. And so, you know, that was 2018. So I actually met a business partner, Shreya Banerjee, who you probably saw now with some of our stuff, right? So she was at an internet marketing event. I was at an internet marketing event, and I was already in my mind going, okay, this is the direction I want to go. I see a new direction forward for my business. I need to find somebody that understands corporate, understands process. And that's where she came in. She understood corporate, understood processes, and she knew enough about, or knew a lot about IM. You know, she had been doing it for 10 years. So we ended up clicking, and it made a lot of sense to form our partnership. And she was a big part around the rebrand. I used to be count on us, right? Count on me, count on us, you know, it was a good angle, right? But she was the one that's like, counts. Why don't you do marketing counts, success counts? And I was like, you know, there we go. So that's really what kicked off 2018. We started that whole movement, that whole shift to where we are now. And that's really our focus. But it's all about that pivot, you know, and throughout my journey though, I've been pivoting. You probably saw in your research, I've been known as the PLR guy, the traffic guy, the free traffic guy, the paid traffic guy, the solo ad guy, the email guy. It's one of those things where if I didn't pivot, I'd have been left behind in this industry. You have to continually rebrand and repurpose yourself. But if you go into other industries, you don't have to do that as much. But I just, you know, I guess for that, I'm thankful for IM, because it makes you stay on the cutting edge of everything. And it also has allowed us to be very successful when we broke out into the corporate world.
Well, that doesn't sound too different from having a dream and then validating it with a retiring sportscaster who says, you know, you better not go here. And once you verified it, you kind of like, whoops, okay, let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, let's pivot.
And you know, so it seems like it's a very valuable early lesson that you actually got. But one thing still strikes me in this entire conversation, which you know, I can't quite piece together. It seems like you're really driven to go into places which have high energy, and for some strange reason, I suppose the money seemed to be a draw as well. I mean, you wouldn't be selling pencils if you didn't have that kind of result. So where did that come from? I mean, was it purely because of your uncle's statement about money and being a multimillionaire and all that, or was there something else behind it?
Yeah, I think it was that was one of them. It was exciting to see that, you know, and I also think it was at times, you know, when you grow up and you're like, you know, you grow up in it. Like I grew up in a town that's not very well off. You know, it's a very, impoverished city, you know, I mean, it's very low income area. And so, you know, you see that, and then you see the world out there and you go, wow, like there's so much you can do when you have money in the world. And for me, I've realized, like, you know, people that say more money, more problems, I think that's silly, because when you can generate more money, there are less problems in the world. There are less problems for you, you know, in a sense. You can do great things with money. You know, I've personally been able to do amazing things with money and invest into people that you believe in. And, you know, even if they didn't believe in themselves, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but you can do things like that. You can impact people in that way with money, you know, and that pushes you. And, you know, so that's one part of it. I also think the energy side of it also resonates well with me. I'm a very high energy person, and I'm one of those rare breeds that can't wait to do public speaking. You know, I love speaking. I love webinars. It's 12:40 over here, right? And I'm all like, let's go. You know, so
the night's still young.
Yeah, the night's still young. Let's go.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so easy, I think, for people to develop this kind of a money mindset. You know, it's I mean, after hearing horror stories about how products are not working and people buy it and they lose their retirement savings or whatever it might be, it kind of gets in the minds of people, right? That there's something not quite right with this world. But yet, even from the get-go, when you're launching products and you're uh, basically you got yourself into the make money online business, which is really, really competitive. I'm actually surprised that you stayed that long, you know,
Yeah.
because PLR is PLR, but
Right.
almost anybody could, you know, if they put in the right amount of effort, they could actually go there. So what was the mindset while you were in the make money online niche? Well, technically you still are, right?
Yeah.
But in a slightly different angle, making money
Yeah, totally
elsewhere,
different. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But how do you think about competition? What's your angle there?
I love competition. You know, I feel that I feel like I can rebrand. I mean, with Marketing Counts, we've entered a niche that is super competitive, you know, extremely competitive. Everybody and their friend owns an agency, right? Owns a
Yep.
marketing agency. I mean, we entered the time when everybody that opened up a ClickFunnels account thinks they're also an agency at the same time. And so we spent a better part of a couple years branding ourselves into this industry, establishing authority, whether it's through podcasts, doing interviews, getting our name out there with a different approach, finding a unique angle, you know, and we've established these unique things that make us different from every other agency out there. And, you know, we've also been a little bit controversial. I've learned even from a young age, one of my main clients that I obtained was back in junior high, because I was extremely controversial when I was selling the shirts online via emails. I sent out an email because there was a lot of screen print and embroidery companies in my area. And I was representing a company from a bigger city that had better equipment. So they could do tackle twill, which looked really nice. They did cleaner embroidery, and they did really good screen printing. Other ones did heat press, which was just like a decal, just like, you know, ironed onto a shirt. It didn't look that good, right?
Yep.
And so I did an email to the Chamber of Commerce, to every business owner. I found out a way to do email marketing back then, right? I mean, it was, okay, a little controversial. Yeah, I grabbed all their emails. This is back in 1998. So, you know, 1999, right, that era. And I sent an email and I was like, do you want to buy shirts from the crummy providers? Do you want to go with the good ones and go with the best, you know? And we sell something better. And it was really funny because a embroidery company actually took offense to it, because, you know, they had good embroidery. Well, then we struck up a joint venture because they couldn't do screen print and they couldn't do tackle twill, and they got to like me, and we got to know, like, and trust each other, and would send me all their screen print orders, right? And so then I would upsell those, and like, it just worked out really well. But that was because we were a bit controversial, and we've done this with this whole space too. We go into this space and people ask us, you know, what makes you different? We exactly what we do. We have a formula that we've developed that allows us to go into any niche market, no matter the size business, and actually have success with it. because the way we laid it out. And that comes from my business partner's process background. She's got a very process oriented lean background. She was in lean manufacturing, and that combined with her marketing knowledge and my marketing knowledge just makes like the 1-2 punch that makes us different from everybody else. And so we've been able to position that and brand ourselves and go into an area where it's shark infested waters and come out alive. We come out of there and we're continuing to grow, and we're not afraid to enter the shark infested waters. I think it's a little bit of confidence. It's a little bit of swagger. You feel like you can do it. But it takes time. It's not easy. Like, it sounds easy for me to say this, but it's a lot of work to get to the point where we are now, and building this and establishing things and working those connections. And, we still have a long way to go too. So it's, but the sky's the limit, and we're in a niche where there's no ceiling. I feel like it was funny you mentioned that about IM. I also felt like I had reached that ceiling with IM, where we had our massive successes. And honestly, quite frankly, the ceiling in IM has gotten lower and lower and lower, to where there's the traditional IM launch model, if you will. Now I'm not talking like, launching your funnels and those kind of totally different niche. I'm talking the internet marketing niche in itself. The ceiling there has gotten so small to where it's just like, let's move on.
Right. Yeah. So it's no longer worth it's not so energizing anymore, right?
Yeah. It's not so energizing. Exactly. Yeah. It's not so energizing. It has a black eye on it. I don't feel like fighting off people, in that space. I also don't want to get involved in, you promoted for me, I promote for you. Like, I'm not going to play that game, so it needs to be worth it.
Well, okay. So now what I'm interested in, because you're speaking so fondly of your partner, tell me a little bit about your selection process for partners. I mean, qualities do you look out for? How do you test? How do you know that you guys are a right fit and so on?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I'm somebody that you've probably noticed where when you looked at a lot of my past, I've been in a lot of different partnerships, right? So I think part of that, I don't know if that's something with me, but I love working with people. I love collaboration. I enjoy that. I've always been like a very much go-getter and driven person, but I also enjoy collaboration and working as a team towards a common goal. And maybe that's from my love of sports in the past. I'm not sure, but when I was looking for partners, it always comes down to values. Do they carry the same values as me? In the sense of, do they strive for excellence? Do they want to be different in the workplace? Do they also have a strong work ethic? Do they complement something I do not have? Like the Real Guys partnership was fantastic. We each brought a unique skill set to the table. We each brought something extremely unique. I had a pet business and I was a partner with somebody. He brought a very unique skill set and observation, and with Marketing Counts now, very unique skill set, from her side and that partnership. But I've had a lot of other smaller joint ventures and partnerships, and, it all comes down to the same thing. Do you have the same values? Do you appreciate providing good content, good quality, good material? If so, we're going to be a great fit, and that's one area where I don't shortchange on, and that's lack of quality content. So I like to put out the best, content out there in the market. And so, when I partnered with my business partner, she had similar frustrations with the internet marketing space, and it made sense, and now here we are, to transition and grow in this arena.
Okay. I'm just going to quiz you a little bit on what you're doing. I mean, since this is in a sense a showcase, why don't we do like Genius Counts, right?
Okay, Genius Counts. I like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna, well, let's just take my business for example. Solo trainer goes out there teaching corporations. Would there be any difference in terms of the marketing approach for such a such a niche, to say the least? But it's not really a small niche, because there are plenty of speakers out there who want to get into a corporate gig and stuff. But would there be, how might you go about doing it is what I'm asking.
Yeah, how would I take the process? So we break everything down into what's called our FTE formula. So it's And it's funny because some people are like, FTE, full-time employee, I'm trying to get out of that. I'm like, no, it's not that. It's FTE, foundation, traffic, engagement. So we start looking at, you know, no matter what the business is, right? First thing we look at, how is your foundation set? So we simplify it. I know it seems really funny. What I'm about to say is really stripping it down to the foundations and then we build up from there. So we give a really good example. So Shreya created this analogy where it's like a house. You know, you have a foundation of a house, and that's your business foundation. So that we look at your landing page. You know, is your messaging on point? Is your messaging giving the people the value proposition that makes you different from everybody else? Because it's one thing to have a landing page, but you know, there's a wise person told us in a call we did recently. He was talking about you got to speak for the ear, write for the eye. You know, and that's a really powerful thing. You know, because you've got to be able to write for the eye that attracts people enough that makes it different from what everybody else does. So there are a lot of speakers, as you mentioned. So you have to differentiate yourself and what is your unique selling point that makes you different from the other speakers. You know, maybe it's something you do, maybe it's, you know, packaging something together for your when they're done training, maybe it's the way you deliver the content, the past feedback you've gotten, but something needs to pop. So we look at your foundation, we look at your business. We also take a look at, if you're trying to do mass market marketing, are you doing the basics? Like, do you have a Facebook pixel in place? Do you have your SEO in place as part of the foundation? Are you doing your title tags? Do your title tags say your keywords in it instead of the word home? You know, like that's like SEO number one, you know, is look at your title tags. Like we just reviewed a business. I mean, this business that's been very successful, right? And their homepage says home, you know, they're not targeting their keyword phrase, right? You implement that one thing and you can start to get a lot more free traffic from Google. And so we look at those little elements. We look at, do you have a lead capture mechanism in place? Because we teach, you know, part of the foundation phase is capture leads. Because as you can attest to, right, Stuart, everything in business is your leads. Leads make the world go round. And yeah, money makes the world go round, but leads make that money. So you need to have leads first before money, I think. And, you know, so you got to capture those leads. So we do that. Then we focus on traffic. What is the ideal traffic strategy? And one of the things I'm so thankful for and blessed about being in this business so long is that it has enabled us, you know, like as a team, you know, because Shrey had different, you know, traffic skill sets and I had different traffic. You combine two people that have 30 plus years of experience, and now all of a sudden we can pick the best traffic strategy. One of the biggest mistakes we see in this industry today with agencies is they push you into what they're comfortable. You should never work with an agency that's going to push you into their comfort level, right? So a lot of these agencies are like, I'm good at Facebook ads, so therefore Facebook ads what you should do. Well, quite honestly, that may not be the best way to market that business. It might be Google ads and Bing ads, and it might be Pinterest for another business. And so if you have a well-rounded approach and you understand marketing concepts and how to work, we consider ourselves less of a agency, more of a marketing and branding strategist. So we're a business marketing strategist. And so, you know, we pick what's best for you. So that's the traffic piece. And in your case, you know, I would choose a couple different traffic strategies. I would look at 3 different traffic strategies in particular, like YouTube ads, right? Because that's going to get your name, your voice out there in front of people, you know, targeting those proper keywords. Pinterest would be another good one because you can do the quote images. That would be really powerful. And then Google, of course, Google ads, because Google ads to me are one of the best ways to market yourself, especially as a personal trainer or business owner, because people are actually searching for it. You know, trainer, sales leadership training, sales leadership course. They're typing that into Google. They're pretty interested in it, right? Yeah. And I love Facebook ads, you know, like the other people, but you know, honestly, corporate training, Facebook's not going to be the best for it because people aren't looking for that there. So, you know, and LinkedIn would be good, of course, for a corporate trainer because there's a lot of businesses there. So we assess your best traffic and then engagement. You know, you and I both love engagement. That's the email side, right? You know, where you send emails out to people and you engage with them through emails. You engage with them via social media. I mean, it's amazing to me how many businesses actually have an email list, but when you ask them when they last emailed, they're like, oh, about 2 months ago. And it's like, wait, your customers haven't heard from you in 2 months, you know? And you have to get them to understand that if you don't email them, somebody else in that niche will. And especially as a sales trainer, as you know, it's competitive. you should be in front of them and reminders and money's in the follow-up. Anytime you do a proposal, right? Money's in the follow-up. An engagement could even be as simple as a one-on-one email. We've closed several business deals just because we did the follow-up engagement. We just closed one last week with somebody because we did a simple follow-up. Hey, just following up on what we sent over. We hadn't heard from them in a week, and all of a sudden they circle back and want to do business. But if we had not engaged with them, then that would not have happened. And, so we really come into it, lay out that strategy. And it's fun because we don't care what the niche market is. When we drill it down to those simple levels, it works for any business in any niche market. So we had someone come to our event, that does like chiropractic care for horses. They do like massage therapy for horses. And she's like, you can't help me. And she left with pages and pages of notes. So
well, this is good. I think many people who are wondering why an agency doesn't work for them, I think it's also largely because of the foundations. A lot of people don't start off with the right kinds of foundations, and I think that's absolutely key here. So I like that. Not only do you love competition, sometimes it's a little bit of a trick question by getting you to do a free consult for me, of course. That hey, like here's the formula. But if you love competition that much, there are obvious payoffs for competition, and I think that's why the energy, comes in, because you're gonna invent new stuff, you're gonna come up with better ways of doing things, and so on. So I like that. So when it comes to, okay, so I understand where that drive for that. Well, it's not really just about money. It's just that the money is a representation of the amount of energy that you're gonna be able to derive from that. So I think I understand that. Tell me, what's the most frustrating thing that you've encountered with online coaching students?
Yeah, the most frustrating thing I think is when they say, and this just even goes beyond just coaching students. This goes into anybody that's pursuing a dream or a passion. I've seen this in the acting industry as well, the movie industry as well. Anybody that says that they want something, but they're not willing to put in the efforts to get to that point, that to me is always frustrating. I try to understand where people are at. And I think part of me, it gets frustrating because I'm so driven and motivated and such a go-getter. But to me, it's like, if you say you want something, then you should be willing to at least do the bare minimum, at least do the basics. Like, for example, people will buy a course and literally we will label them video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they will ask you, what video do I start with? And you're like, what? Like start with 1, and implement and take action. And, I'm a little bit different too, because I'm more action oriented, where I find that in all my years, and again, this does not discredit anybody that teaches about reading, not at all. But I have not read that many books. I'm not somebody that reads a lot of books, and I'm more, if I read a book, I will I'll implement it. So I have a lot of books that are partially read, but it's because I got what I wanted out of that book. And I took that and I went with it, and again, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people, you need to read the whole book, and that's great. It's helping people understand that you don't have to be like everybody else, because you see the experts that are out there pounding down people's throats, like, you got to read. What I also find, though, is there's a lot of readers that don't implement. And I think a frustrating thing for me is people that digest content and then don't implement, because they're just never going to see results out of it.
Okay, so Paul, just indulge me a little bit. You're using words like implement, go-getter, and action-oriented, right?
Yeah.
So what is that point of time where you are in that action orientation mode? How does that get turned on?
Yeah, so like action oriented mode. Yep. So, for me, it's like, as soon as I try to learn something, if I learn something new, I will go find a project that I can put it to action on. So if I learn something new, maybe it's from a book, maybe it's something that I want to use. I mean, I'll give you an example of action mode. I was going to speak at a live event on the airplane. I saw a book, called Steal the Show, and it's by Michael Port. Great book, And I saw it in the, of all the things, it was in the Hudson News store, back when you flew everywhere, right? And it was in there, and I went and bought it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go speak. I'm going to learn something and change my presentation, that will impact my presentation. So I just told myself that. I went in, started reading the book. It was about 3 or 4 chapters in. He said one thing that just like transformed my whole presentation. So when I got there, that was a couple years back, and that led to the opening that I have, which has made a lot of people just go, oh my goodness, like they just can't believe it. So the opening I've started to use, it worked really well in internet marketing, and I think it'd still work in most other niches, where basically I go in and he was talking about having a big impact, showing that you're an authority. So I went in there and I have everybody stand up, and I would say stuff like, if you've been in the business for 1 year, 2 years, sit down. If you've been in the business 3 years, sit down. If you've been in the business 5 years, and I knew nobody could match up with me. So I just keep going, and then pretty soon I'm the only one left in the room, because there's only so many years in the internet, right?
Right.
So by the time I'm done, I'm like the only one still standing. And I said, and that's why I'm here right now teaching you, because I've been here longer, than I go into my story. But it was like one thing like that I learned while flying, and I just went into action mode. Okay, I'm going to go put this into my presentation, and so for me, I think it's the spark of the idea goes to action.
So how does that affect you? Is it are you imagining how it would look like when you've implemented it? I mean, there's something that happens inside your head. How do you know that this is a good idea?
Yeah, so it's about to get scary if you get inside my head. But
so what it's all about?
Right. So no, when it goes, it's, as I'm reading, I think I'm one that I'm definitely a visualizer. I like to visualize things. Very creative in my head in that way. Nobody would say like I'm not a artistic person in the sense of I'm not a good artist, like a drawer or anything, but I'm very artistic when it comes to copywriting or marketing or what I see and visualize. And so I agree. I'd have to say, as I'm getting the idea, my mind is also at the same time going, this is how I could put it to action. So this is how I could use it. Or this is how I could take what I just learned and take it to another step and put my own spin on it. Because, let's be honest, you probably, I don't know how you feel about this, but like, I feel that there's not a lot of things that are brand new. I feel that there is, you can put your own unique spin on it. I'm not saying there's not new products, new developments, but there is, when it comes to the information space and the marketing space, there's not a lot that is different. It's just how you position it, how you put it out there to people. And so I feel like that is, that's something that, I don't know. Yeah, it's basically like when I see something, I start to visualize it. How am I going to implement it? How am I going to put my own unique spin on it? And then I take it from there.
So I'm looking at how this all connects, because while you're learning or while you're getting an idea, I noticed that quite a number of people take that idea and they go like, oh, okay, that's interesting, but they don't really implement it, and for whatever reason, right? It sounds to me like you can see a result almost immediately after you find something valuable, like okay, so this is something that like the whole big impact piece, I think goes beyond just being able to detect something different. It's also noticing the difference in you, because to be able to say, hey, I've been in the internet for like 25 years and everyone else would be like, babies basically. That means that you must have been able to detect a unique value that you currently own, right?
Yes.
Because without that, it would be quite pointless to do that kind of an exercise. So self-knowledge is key as well.
That's a really good point. I like that you brought that up. I never thought of it that way, but it's understanding what do I offer that's unique to everybody else. And it's funny you mentioned that, because that's the positioning my business partner actually told me. Shreya was like, that needs to be our angle, because she's got the lean process background, which nobody has in the marketing world. Like nobody has that process background. You combine that with marketing knowledge and lean.
Yeah, most people have a fat model.
Yeah, have a what?
The fat model. No, I'm just
yeah.
like Not everybody is as lean as you are.
Oh, now I got it. Okay, I get you now.
Everybody like thinks of rich gurus with big bellies and stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, I totally buy it. I mean, the lean process is actually because it's a methodology of taking action. It fits in very
yeah,
nicely with you. So you're acting and you're learning on your acting,
yes,
and you go through small cycles of learning which accumulate over a period of time. So there's no reason why it wouldn't work. In my opinion, I think that's precisely why it works.
yeah,
Now, talking about, and again, I'm just gonna go back to this idea of pivoting. So I understand that when we do this whole visualization piece of an idea, um, then we take a look at how pivoting takes place, right?
yeah,
Um, it sounds to me like if something that you're attempting to work doesn't look right, or you're getting verbal input from somebody else that, okay, there's going to be a dead end somewhere,
yeah.
then you typically kind of like give that up. But is it always about giving it up? Because earlier on you mentioned that you're not really out of internet marketing, you're just
Right.
waiting for the right product to market. So at which point of time do you actually call it quits? What's that
Yeah. So
end point?
right. So for me, it's interesting because I'm somebody that I'm a gritty person. I have a lot of grit
Yeah.
and I don't like to give up. I don't like to give up easily, at all. And I like to continue to push myself to new limits and see where I can go. But there are times with your business and with even I mean, let's just be honest, relationships, that are going to go south, whether it's a bad, I mean, trust me, we talked about my good partnerships. I've had some very bad business partnerships, and,
Oh, boy.
and, so, that's its own conversation, but like, I've had really bad business partnerships too, where you had to call that quits too, or bad relationships. And so I think bad relationships, bad business ventures, maybe in where the industry is shifting. I mean, just recently we had to pivot our business model that we actually had a lot of progress going towards. We had a lot of momentum. We had groups getting ready to host us and do the marketing for us for whole buildings and complexes of business, of offices, saying, hey, we're going to just promote you. You come in, give value, and then you can pitch them whatever you want. We just want you to give value. Like we had all these things lined up, and then coronavirus hit.
Yeah.
No more events, no more 2 years of building that up. And then we had to quickly pivot. We felt sorry for ourselves for probably 30 minutes, or less. And then we had to pivot to something new, something greater. And then, we did the partnership with the school districts where we started to create training for schools and helping educate the masses. And, so that was a pivot that we had to take. And so, so basically we had to call our event model. We'd call quits on that, we had to do that. We had to call quits on that. Very similar to, in the past, like there was certain stuff that I was teaching that just didn't fit with, there was kind of a ceiling to it. I could see where it was going to kind of end. And I was like, all right, I need to pivot to something different and rebrand myself. I was noticing that I wasn't as well known for PLR for a while, there, because I'd done things a little bit differently and had kind of stepped away. So I said, I need to rebrand myself as the email guy. Came in, became the email guy. Didn't take long to rebrand myself. All of a sudden I'm being booked on webinars and podcasts and interviews for being the email guy. I'm speaking on stage. I'm being introduced as the email marketing genius. I'm being known as the email marketing guru because I pivoted and position. It's all positioning, it's how you position who you are. And, so you see opportunities, you go, okay, I'm going to be that guy.
Well,
So,
I'm surprised you didn't have email counts or spam counts.
yeah. Spam counts.
Because it does.
It does. It
Gotta
does.
get out of it. Okay, this the fascinating thing is you come up with angles like there's no tomorrow, right? It's
Yeah.
what goes into coming up with a new angle? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, demystify your thought process there.
Yeah. So like a new angle, like as far as like how am I gonna, and you're referring to how am I gonna position myself, right?
Yeah.
In a new direction. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So, so for me, I come at it from, it's really just I have to see if there's a need in the market for that? Is there a hole that I can fill, with that angle, with that direction? Is there a niche within the niche, if you will? And then I go in and hone in on that. And, we also work with our clients on that too, is helping them identify who their audience is, because that's half the battle, is knowing who they are and what they want. And
so basically you're still looking for the kids without the pencils, right?
Yes. Still. Oh, that's good. That's good. I like how you tied that together. Yeah. The kids still looking for that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also not afraid either, because like I position myself, like we still sell email marketing. When I positioned myself as an email marketer, that was when everybody was saying email marketing guru and genius. Everybody was saying email marketing's dead. And here I'm like, hey, I'm here. Let's go talk about email now. Right. And then I came at it from a very strong position of statistics. And so statistics is one way that I reposition things, using real data to prove. And I also think I like, and now you have me thinking about what makes me tick now. So I also think I like competition. I like challenges. I like energy. And so I don't always go for the easy opportunity, right? Like it would be easy to go, okay, I'm going to go in something new. Instead, I go, everybody's saying email marketing is dead. Let me prove them all wrong that it's not, and here's what I'm going to teach them, and so that's kind of the approach I take, a little bit different, I guess, than what most would do. And, come at it from the perspective of, hey, this is different. This is how I'm going to be unique and, kind of stand out. So.
Okay. So it sounds like once you've identified a gap, it's not even a gap. It's almost like it's a contrarian strategy. I mean, when everybody's abandoning the house, you kind of like stay in there because it's like, hey guys, this thing still can work. So it's like a piece of property that people have kind of abandoned, and you go like, hang on, this is this is still valuable. So you just touch it up, you put on a new coat of paint, you make it look presentable, and then you position it from a unique standpoint that people can appreciate, right?
Right.
Which is a nice way of doing it. It's literally just it's flipping. That's what it is. It's just flipping that niche.
That's a good way to look at it. Wow, I never thought of that. Flipping the niche. Oh my goodness.
It's fascinating. I mean, so here's the thing. I've always prided myself with doing what I can with neuro-linguistic programming, which is, okay, you tell me what you're doing, and then I'll tell you what you're doing. I know it sounds a little strange, but
I love that.
The way you tell it to me is gonna be, it shows me certain things about you. Like, for example, I'm still curious about that piece of where that innovation comes from, because it's not so easy to say, okay, let's add this piece to make it look completely new. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, because again, your history is relatively rich with all of this, right? But it sounds like it came from partly. It was the t-shirts piece was a brilliant maneuver. If you ask me, it's like getting somebody in who doesn't like you, but then ends up liking you because they know you can do something to their bottom line, and it's like the best of both worlds. It's fascinating. Not very many people have that kind of a mindset to look at win-win all around.
Right.
I don't know what kind of toys did you play with when you were younger? Well, what was let's go further back and let's take a look at that.
Okay. So usually it was more like action figures. Like I played with a lot action, like the shows like that. See, that's not very exciting, but it was still action figures. Well, but it was cars. Did a lot of cars. Yeah, like Hot Wheels. Yeah.
Right. So your favorite shows? What were your favorite shows when you were a kid?
Rescue 911. And Rescue 911. Family Matters, Full House, and Atlanta Braves baseball.
Okay. And cartoons? Were you?
Yeah, some. I like Saturday morning cartoons was like my unwind time, like where I really enjoyed that. And then my other favorite show. So now you got me going. Price is Right. Always love The Price is Right. The game show. where people would come on down and all that. Love The Price is Right. That was my
Okay.
10
Okay.
o'clock. That was the show I loved the most as a kid. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think I get it. It's almost like because you did mention on one of your podcasts, right? It's comedy, not horror, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and and you're kind of like playing into this entire. I think I understand where it comes from because your energy level is it resonates with that kind of like a talk show,
Mhm.
like The Price is Right. You got an audience
Yeah.
that's watching on, and to a certain extent, it ties in a bit more with family. We're going to get into that in a short while.
Yeah.
Ties in with family, ties in with something a little bit lighter in terms of mood and so on. So I'm just wondering whether it is because you are exposed to these kinds of lighter moods when you're younger that you
Yeah.
don't have heavy obstacles that
Right.
block your way of thinking. It's like okay,
Yeah.
so now that we're on this, and again, it is something that you have talked about, so I'm not going to be ashamed of asking this
Yeah.
question in public. Um, when you went through your divorce,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, it must have been I don't know. Most people talk about their divorces as a really tough period in their life.
Yeah.
How did you view that entire situation?
I viewed it as a time of just kind of it was definitely a positive experience. I lost over 30 pounds. My health got better. It was in, without saying too much about the situation, it was definitely a situation that it was the right decision that needed to happen, for the kids, for everybody involved in that situation. Even my ex, I think they're better. I mean, it's one of those where you got to realize, like, sometimes you got to, it's like that guy says, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and it was definitely time to fold it there. And there was a lot of negative energy that just was not leading in the right direction. And,
Right.
and I think that's, when you have that negative energy, I don't do well with negative energy. I'm very much a positive person, and I mean, I can't say I can't handle it, like I
Sure.
can handle it, but I
Yeah.
really try to surround myself with positive, energetic
Yeah.
people. And so if it's not working, it's not working, and um, come to think of it, like, that's kind of the antithesis of what I am, right? Was what my ex was. So not energetic, not, positive, so it was very, it was definitely a situation I felt like for the better. I came out ahead. I was, I came out much better through that situation. It was just a very positive experience in the sense that, opened up a whole new world of possibilities and opportunities that, I didn't, have prior to that, and that I didn't, explore. And I think some of it was, I got married at a very young age, and, I rushed into things. I didn't wait, and that's because I rushed into a marriage like I would any business deal, like I go. And, and I've got a lot of business deals that I've rushed into. And, and I think there is, a lot of business deals also that I've rushed into that didn't end very well either. But then I've had some where obviously you have some that are going to go well, some that aren't, one of them being the movie that I created, which ties into, the reason I made the movie was for my ex to act, right? I wanted her to act in movies. And that was an example of where I referenced this earlier in our conversation, where I was saying, you can't force people to follow a dream, right? If they might want something bad enough. It's kind of like somebody that buys a product wanting to learn how to run a business. I can't force them to have the same passion and drive and energy that I would when I go through it.
Mhm.
Just like if somebody tells me they want to be an actor and you try everything to give them that opportunity, including making a movie for them, right? Like, you can only go so far. You can't live the dream for them. They have to be willing to put that step forward, of action. So
So when you h- how because you did mention this earlier on, it took you about 30 minutes to feel sorry for yourself during the
yeah,
whole coronavirus thing. How long did it take for you to dust yourself off in the divorce?
Not long at all. I mean, it was because I felt like it was the right decision. I
Um,
think the hardest part was more just, when you talk to the kids about the situation, right? Like that gets a little difficult, but and then you also deal with a lot of negative energy from people. I come from a religious, Christian background and upbringing, and so
yeah.
there's a lot of people from the church world that are anti, that and against it,
Yep.
and yeah, you can imagine, right? Yeah.
I
So
know. I know. Been through
yeah.
that too.
What?
I've been through that too. So
Yes. Okay. So you can relate, right?
yeah.
Yeah. It's that part. That part honestly was my fear of how people would react is why I let things get to the point where they were, where my health was actually affected, I was
And
worried about what those people thought.
and what was your recovery process? What pivoted you away
Yeah.
from that negativity?
The negativity, it really didn't take me as long as I would think. I mean, I know a lot of people, they say it takes, for every 5 years you've been married, it'll take a couple years to recover or something. Like
What
there's
really?
somebody that did a stat on it. And to me, honestly, I was like, whatever. You kind of like, you learn that. And I think this goes back to a quote that I've always lived with, that I've lived with since high school, my last year of high school. I gave this in my high school graduation speech. I shared this quote, and it was, a third of the people are going to love you, a third of the people are going to hate you, and a third of the people aren't going to care any other way. And that's the motto I live by. And it helps me so much because I realize there's a third of the people out there that no matter what I do, I wake up and open my eyes, and a third of the people in the world don't like me for whatever reason. I walk in a room and I realize there's a third of the people watching this maybe that won't like me. That I'm going to be too positive for some people. Honestly, I've been told that before. I'm too positive. I'm too energetic. I'm too this. And then there's a third of the people that love me. So I'm going to focus on those. And then there's a third of the people that hate me, or third of people that hate you. Those people I also focus on, in only in the sense of it drives me to be better because I want to prove people wrong. And
Uh,
then you've got people that don't care any other way. Those people, it's like, whatever. You're no fun. There's no energy there, positive or negative, to build on. So, but I've lived that philosophy. So I started to realize, you know what? there's you're going to realize who the true people are in your life, who the true friends are, who the true people that are going to be with you through thick and thin. And if they don't want to stay with you, then here's the door. And that's the attitude I had to take, and it was great. It was very freeing. I did a lot of blocking on Facebook, a lot of just getting that negative energy out of your life. I mean, I was, and you talk about negative energy. I mean, I you probably saw I made a movie, right? Made a movie and had a really interesting, situation happen with that. And still dealing with that at times, but then there's times you just have to let go, and you just have to say, you know what, I'm not going to let this negativity just get me down, and this negative individual and person. So,
mm. What do you see for your foreseeable future?
yeah, for
What's
sure.
what's Paul, what's Paul's the next 5 to 10 years gonna look like?
Yeah, I think it's they're going to count. Um, so it
No pun
was right
intended.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you
But
did.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, no, honestly, I think,
So
I
just to
see
just to
massive,
let you know, Paul, there is a
yeah,
song in Singapore. It's a
uh-huh.
nationalistic song. It's called "Count on Me, Singapore." So I'm sure it won't be a third in Singapore who love you. Probably be more, 50% perhaps.
Okay, I'll take that.
When you get a chance to fly over, yeah.
That's perfect. We need to make that happen too. That's awesome. So, I think in the next foreseeable future, I mean, honestly, I see massive impact. I see, really once I stepped outside of that I am niche, which has the ceiling right here,
Mhm.
there's massive impact, as far as like be able to reach people with a message of, you can get your personal brand, you can get yourself out there in a crowded world. And one of the things that's driving our passion, one of the things we're so focused on, and this is why I can honestly say I feel massive impact, is we see what's wrong with the digital marketing space. We see what's wrong in that arena. We see the issues that business owners have. We see the struggles they come up against. And so we're coming at it from an approach of saying, we want to take and educate people, whether it's at the student level, college, high school, we want these students to understand digital marketing so that when they go to their jobs, that it's difficult for, quite frankly, for companies to continue to do the dishonest digital marketing strategies, because there's people that know what should be happening with their business. And so to us, it's really, we see an opportunity to help people with the right message and understand, how do I hire digital marketers? What do I look for with an agency before I hire it? And if we can teach people the foundations of their business, they're going to be able to hire more effectively. We'll be able to have a greater reach, because now people have a voice, right? People have a voice, have a good story to tell. They have a message. They have a business, way back when, one of my slogans, so I started down this road, and this actually led to a lot of my SEO trainings that I did way back in many years ago. I had a business called Count on Us PR, right? And the logo, in fact, if you were to look that up, the logo on that is unleash the power of the internet, for your business, or unleash the power of the internet to its full potential was the phrase, right? And that's really what we're trying to do, is empower people to unleash the power of the internet so they can get their message out there. And so, there's a lot of big things in the future that I see that in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's, massive impact through educating the masses. And that's really where we're focused on.
Okay. Well, at least 1/3 of the masses.
At least 1/3 of them. Yeah.
This is perfect, because what's funny is you've come full circle. It's like you started off as a teenager heading out and selling T-shirts on the internet, and now it's kind of like coming full circle to teach the same teenagers how to do whatever, right?
Yes.
And it sounds perfect. It sounds like everything has come to the necessary conclusion for the journey and the adventure that you've been on. But then it goes beyond that. I think in learning about the lessons, it's funny how sometimes the business relationships are both good and bad at the same time. I mean,
yes.
There are those where you make a lot of money, but it feels empty. And then there are those which, you promote an affiliate offer because, and then you've got those where it costs you a lot of money.
Yes.
But best thing that ever happened, right? Because of all the lessons learned. So in your last coming close to 3 decades on the internet, what would you say if you could list the top 2 or 3 lessons you've learned from challenges that arose as a result of business?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really glad you mentioned that. I think one of them is one of the big ones, the big lessons that I've learned, the biggest takeaways is that you should invest the most into yourself. Invest the most into yourself. And I reference this multiple times because it's that important. You can't force somebody. If somebody wants something, you can't put aside your dreams and goals to help somebody else pursue theirs. Because if they don't want to pursue it, it's not going to happen. You can set them up for success. You can give them money. You can give them everything they ask for to succeed. And I've learned this lesson the hard way. This was, a lot of the reason the movie deal went south. You invest in somebody, you put into their life, you do what you can to help set them up for success. And then, they just don't want it, it's just no other way to put it, so that's a lesson that I've learned, is that you can't force somebody else to want something. Don't take yourself off your course to, don't invest more into somebody else than you're investing in your own self. And I think that's good. I've also learned about being what's called a selfish giver. And that is, where you give to yourself first so that you can be your best self, whether it's health-wise, mentally, physically, those kind of things. Because I used to give everything I had in relationships, everything. Like I put it all out there to the point where, I'm popping aspirin pills trying to just make sure I don't have a heart attack, like everything. You just put it all out. No sleep, nothing. Just you put everything out there to try to be everything for everyone else. And you need to be a selfish giver, because if you die, you can't help people. I mean, there's a great story I heard. This is, through the church circles, and people were celebrating this woman, right? She's a missionary, and she was out there, and you know, a great story in theory, right? But in reality, I don't think it's that great of a story, because she was helping this group of people, and they were starving, and she decided to give up her own food to so that some people could have a little more food, right? But she ended up dying. The woman with the vision, with the direction, the woman that ran this whole organization that was feeding so many people with her impact and message, she ended up dying and not being able to reach the amount of people she could have reached, right? Because she was giving everything she had. And not saying that wasn't wonderful of her, and that's not a selfless act, and I think it's beautiful that she did that. But I also think there's also that side where I had to take a step back, even with my own kids, and say, I was in my early 30s wondering, am I going to make it to 40 because I'm putting so much into it? And that's not okay. You know, you've got to focus on yourself. And so, you know, so it's always a work in progress from that perspective, you know, focusing on your health. But I feel that, you know, really that's one of them. Then the third, you know, principle that I've learned is just, you know, the power and persistence, and grit. And, you know, you're going to get knocked down, and, you know, you need to get up again. You're going to get knocked down. Life will not, life is not going to slow down for you to go pursue your dreams. You know, like, that's probably the best way to put it. Life is, for you to pursue what you're going to pursue, life is not going to slow down, you know? And I tell you right now, there's probably somebody watching this going and saying to themselves, or they just said it, well, when coronavirus stops, I'm going to go start that business. When we get back to this, I'm going to go do that. Well, insert murder hornets or insert whatever else is coming our way. Right? I mean, there's always something new that is going to happen. Like, you know, a family member might get sick. Somebody else, you know, may get, I mean, you don't know. I mean, we have a limited number of time on this earth, and you should focus on taking action. And I think that's what drives me so much, is that I live every day like it could be my last day. And, you know, no matter what I do, and, you know, and I think that's probably where some of that action comes from, where I'm very action oriented, and I live every day like it could be my last day. So,
would you say that there's a driving motivation behind why you do take action? Is it for anybody?
yeah, it's honestly, it's for my kids. I want to create a future for them that they will, you know, be proud of. I want to leave a legacy, you know, for them. I want to impact future generations of counts. You know, I want my kids, my three, you know, amazing kids. They motivate me, they drive me, they push me forward, they make me want to be a better me. They, you know, that's what makes me tick. You know, that's my why behind it. Everybody's got to have a why, you know, and they are my why. You know, I want to them to enjoy, you know, a great life, and I want them to see, you know, just all the world has to offer, because this world has so much to offer people, and I want my kids to experience that, and that pushes and drives me forward in a big way.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Um, I I have yeah. There's actually quite a number more questions that I want to ask, but
Perfect.
to be able to dive into your relationship with your kids,
Yeah.
how do you, I mean, do you also encourage them, you know, sports
Yeah.
master, internet marketer? uh,
Yeah. I do. I encourage them to do whatever they want to do. You know, whatever they have a passion for. I tell them, you can do this. You can pursue it. I mean, my oldest, she wants to be a marine biologist,
wow.
and yeah, 100% support it. You know, the middle child, she wants to do some acting and be a zoologist. Like, she loves that. The oldest one also is very good at art. Very, very good at art. Very proficient at art, and so she wants to pursue both. And I was like, absolutely, you can pursue both. You know, see what you like, or pursue them both. Why not? And then
Mm-hmm.
my youngest, he loves his passion. It sounds really funny, but he's been saying it for the last several years. He's now 8. You know, and he talks about he wants to be a video game designer, develop video games and make video games. And, you know, and I love it. It's, you know, teach them, you know, how to do that, so that they can get the real world experiences to do that. I mean, my daughter, for example, my oldest, she volunteers at the, you know, the marine center, well, I mean, when it was open, right? And she volunteers there to help feed the animals, gets that experience, gets that real life hands-on experience. I really encourage my kids to, if they want to do something, then get that real life, real world experience and go do it. Because, and that comes through in our teaching as well. Like even when we're teaching high school kids, we create a curriculum that's hands-on learning where they're actually making reports for real businesses and they're doing things, because the only way to learn is by doing. And I think that's also that's also to me one of the most important parts of action. When you take action, you're also learning. At least that's how it works for me. So
Cool. How do you teach your kids grit?
grit. Oh yeah, like it's tough to teach that, but I feel like one of my kids in particular, really, I see that that grit, especially my middle daughter. She's got a lot of grit. My oldest daughter's got some grit. I hope she could have some more, but she'll get there. And my youngest son, he's got not as much grit, but that's okay. And everybody's different. Like that's the beauty of this world. Everybody's unique. Everybody has a unique reason for why they do things in life. And my kids, each are unique in that way, right? It'd be boring if we were all the same. If everybody had the energy I had, it would be insane, and it would be a boring world, right? But my middle daughter, she's got a lot of grit, where I've watched her just, if something's not going well, she will continue to fight through it until she gets it right. She'll find a way to make it work. She'll find a way to, persevere through whatever problem it is that she's having. And so I see that a lot in her. She's very determined, and those types of things. And then my oldest daughter, she's also got the grit in the sense of schoolwork too, where she is very driven, a little, she's got some grit, but she's really more of a doer, more of an action taker, more of a, she sees what she wants to do. And so she wants to be a marine biologist. So she is the president of her science club at school. She, I encourage her by saying, you then get those experiences, and president of her science club at school. And she, as soon as she gets home, she's doing her homework. I've never had to say, hey, sit down and do your homework. Never, with her. But see, I was that way as a kid too. I remember I was that way where I, wanted to get home and get after my stuff. So I've always been kind of an action taker oriented.
For your kids, what do you see? And again, this may be the same for the kids that you're attempting to teach in the various schools too. In the next 20 years or so, how, because we talked about relevance and staying relevant in the face of disruption, competition, and so on. What do you think is the single most important thing that will help them through the next 20 years?
Yeah, single most important thing. I would say, it's grit, which is tough to teach, so I would say, it's easy to say grit, is going to help them get through it. And I agree. I think grit's really where they're going to grow. But I think the number one most important thing is the ability to pivot. I think that's more important than even grit. Yes, there's some grit involved in it, but I think the ability to think quickly and make adjustments. And at the same time, I think part of what goes into pivoting is a calmness, be calm amongst, situations. Like I referenced this before, where you got 30 minutes to be upset. I liken it to sports analogy, if a baseball pitcher throws the ball and they hit it for a home run, right? They throw a home run. They have the next pitch, the next guy standing in the batter box, and they can't think about what just happened. Or if you're shooting a free throw and you miss one in basketball, you have to get back up and shoot another free throw right away. And the quickest way to forget something is by going to do it again. And, so kids these days, over the next 20 years, if they want to see success at life, if they want to see success in their future, then they're going to be focused on the thing they're going to learn is how to pivot and how to have a positive mindset and a positive attitude when something goes bad. And that would come from, how fast can you, how don't lament the past. Don't focus on the negative, look forward to the positive, and how can you make that negative into a positive. And don't dwell on the past, because you have to pivot quickly. And, businesses will go down, business partnerships will fail you, relationships will fail you, the world will fail you, on down the list, right? It's all going to fail you at some point. Health will fail you. And I don't mean to sound like a very defeatist personality, but the reality is life is not easy. Life is going to throw punches. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is Les Brown. He's got one of the favorite quotes that I love, and that is, when life knocks you down, you better land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. That's like my favorite Les Brown quote of all time, and that is a quote that I think kids should grasp onto, because you're going to get knocked down, but you better be ready to get back up again. Because there's not a single person that's had success in life that had it easy, that had an easy path forward. We always see the results of what happened. We always see that. And I'm telling you, if kids these days understand that they're going to have rough times, it's not all sunshine and rainbows like people think. You're going to have these times in life, these issues. You got to be willing to, if you want that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you got to be able to get back up and roll with the punches.
Right. Sounds like you've been watching a lot of Rocky.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's amazing what kind of things TV shows can and movies can actually teach you.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
Energy. How do you get your energy up? How long do you sleep, Paul? Because now it's like past 12.
Yeah, it's 1:40 here now. Yeah, 1:40 a.m. Are you surprised I'm so energetic at 1:40?
No. I think there's always that quality about people.
Yeah.
They have that level of energy that drives them and keeps them awake sometimes in a positive way. But unfortunately, I also know a lot of people who keep awake because of bad things that are happening to them. So the next day, is a trudge to try and wake up and crawl out of bed. How do you get out of bed? What's your ritual?
Yeah. So,
And don't say
I
coffee,
get up. Don't say what?
Don't say coffee.
Yeah. So for me, it really, I don't wake up probably as well as like some people that you hear, like they have the same routine where, they're going to, like you're going to wake up, get a drink right away, meditate, don't look at your phone. Like I've heard all those things, right? I usually wake up with a smile. Some days I pray in the morning, some days I don't. I look at my phone usually, see what kind of messages have come in. I usually lay in. This is totally antithesis of what I think some people tell you to do. I've seen a lot of success gurus and stuff that have said, don't touch your phone. Don't look at it for 30 minutes. I like to see what I missed. I wake up and I'm like, what did I miss? What important email? What exciting thing is coming? I look forward to my emails because you see what sales notifications came in, what product you're sold, what did customer get back to you on something? Did you close the deal you're hoping to close? I'm on Pacific Coast time, so by the time I wake up, which might be 7, 8 o'clock my time, it's already 11 o'clock. The day started on the East Coast. So what did my East Coast clients say? Or like did we get that email we're waiting on from this potential client? Like, to me, I'm ready to go, and I wake up and but again, that's, everybody's so different, right? Like I see people tell people all the time. In fact, I'm more of a night owl type person. Like I work well at night. Like that's just how my body has been. And I've had people criticize me for so long, where they're like, you're lazy if I sleep in. I'm like, but I was up till 4 or 5 a.m. So of course, I'm gonna sleep till 9 or 10. Everybody's different, like not. I've heard a lot of success people that say the only way to success is to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm like, not for everybody. Like everybody's different. You got to realize what works, right? I mean, to some it's great, but it doesn't mean that's that way for everybody.
Well, I think you've got another 10 more years before you can join the 5 a.m. club, because sometimes it's just a biological clock. Like when I was in my 30s, it was like, okay, come on, let's bring it on. It's 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to sleep rather than to wake up. So no, I totally agree. But it does reveal a bit about how you treat others. You're treating other people as, no judgment. There's you're different. You've got your own strengths. That's how you've been bringing up your kids too.
Right.
And even if you don't, if you're not exactly a carbon copy of me, at least you know what you want. And you pick your battles, right? You just move forward and you pick your battles, and you win some, you lose some. But the net gain is that as long as you're in the fight, you're going to be a winner anyway, because
Yeah.
a lot of people chicken out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I love that. I might use that someday.
This is I I mean I like your concept of the selfish giver. I mean, I've been teaching people the idea of self-care. Most people don't like the idea because
Yeah.
it's like there's something missing in that piece. And I think for anybody who wants to really self-care, they must have their foundations right. Um,
Yeah.
especially with regard to money. Like you say, it allows you to help people, it allows you to make an impact in the world. And I know a lot of people who wish they could make an impact in the world, but they don't have the resources to do it. And then they go
Yeah.
like, okay, this, vicious cycle. Um, I also noticed that you literally have a time limit to, anger, frustration, negativity,
Yeah.
resentment, all that kind of stuff. Um, uh, is there ever a time where you'll indulge in some like self pity or is that like no, it's not
Yeah.
my thing.
Very minimal. I mean, I've made that mistake. Honestly, I've made the mistake in the past where, the a business deal I referenced, with the movie situation where I let that get a hold of me at times. And honestly, it put me into a kind of a
Tailspin.
year funk, if you will,
Oh,
like which not like a complete funk where I was way out of it, but like enough to where I was like, this is not, this is not me. This is not okay. Um, and that's the only time where I let anger and frustrations kind of overtake me. And it was like I vowed then, never again. Like, why did I let that happen?
hmm.
So we go through those, but that was a big one. And then honestly, there's not enough time. Like, there's so many irons in the fire where if you get a no, it's that cliche phrase, you're that much closer to a yes, but it is so true. And I also come at it from the perspective of, and this sounds really egotistical and arrogant, but the perspective is their loss. If I get a no on a business deal, it's their loss. Next, next up, who's going to indulge in my services and our services that's going to take them to the next level. Next company up, that's okay. And they had their reasons, they had their reasons for maybe going with somebody else. They, maybe wanted to try something different. You know, we what we love is when you get that feedback, because sometimes you never get the feedback. I love the feedback where they tell you who they went with or why they went with them, because then it makes you positioned. Because I feel you can always learn and grow. I mean, I've had those moments where I'm like, oh, I should have had, my business partner on the call, with us to close that deal. Or, like you have those moments where you go, okay, well, if we had done this differently, but then we don't do that long. It's just enough. You do enough of a recap so you can learn from it, but then you need to move on to the next. And part of that comes from, I worked with college athletics, and I worked in the trenches, on the sidelines. I would see how these guys would go. I'd see how these guys would tick. And in coaching, coaching football for the time I did and the short time, like you literally need to you recap the game film from the week prior and you see what went wrong. And then you have to be ready for the next opponent because they're coming right at you, in a few days. So you have to lament a little bit and go, okay, what can I learn from the past? Fix it. Okay, put that to bed. We're going to forget the drop pass, forget this happened, focus on the next opponent, the next person up. And I think that my sports upbringing is what has pushed me towards this attitude in business too.
Yeah, it sounds like your entire life is like a football game. It's like
Yeah, it
dust
is.
yourself off, pick yourself up, and let's go.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've loved football so much that I use that analogy when it comes to marketing too. I mean, I always look at it as, what every little thing I can do on my website, my SEO is it's competitive, right? It's strategic. It's my strategic edge is this, it's very strategic on every move I make with the website, whether it's taking an alt tag and putting in the keyword or adding adding more content to a page or making a title or an H1 tag over a H2 tag. I mean, all these little tweaks
Yep.
set you up for success. Like that's what I loved about, back when I had a pet business is we could compete because, and it goes back to pivoting, right? I can compete and with any company online, even the biggest companies in the world. We've got a client right now that started with us. They're competing with WebMD and some others now, for one of these core keywords. And I'm okay with that because I know one thing I can do one thing for my client, or I can do one thing for myself better than others. And that is pivot. I can pivot quicker than them. These large organizations, these large companies, if they want to make a website change, they're going to have to go through 25 different rounds of revisions, 35 meetings. And by the time they get around to changing it, you've already could have made your changes, started getting backlinks to that article or whatever, and seen a difference. And so pivoting is so important in every aspect of life. Pivoting gives you that ability to go up against the giants and win, in my opinion.
Tell me a bit about your ability to handle details, because it seems like you're going down into, when you say you go into the trenches, it looks like you're really digging real deep. How comfortable are you with that? And well, first of all, how comfortable are you with that?
Like details, you mean? Like, yeah. I love details of certain things, when it comes to, it's really funny because like my mind doesn't, people joke at times. Like I literally have family and friends that joke that I need a handler when I'm out in public, because there's some things like I sometimes need somebody that's like, Paul, go this direction, or Paul, like focus over here, but my mind's, I think part of it, because a lot of times I do have that visualization going where my mind is thinking of, okay, how can I make money off this? Or I'm thinking of something I just learned. Or if somebody's having a conversation with me, I'm going, okay, how can I apply this to my business? Maybe it's something you said earlier in this conversation, and my mind is still going like, oh, there's something to what he said. I need to get back to that, right? Like that's happening. And so sometimes details get lost on me from like certain aspects. So like maybe it's, if I'm making food, I can't memorize ingredient list. I need to look at, if I'm cooking food, like look at everything that the process, I mean, for goodness sakes, I read the instructions on how to make a microwave meal sometimes, because I don't remember that, right? Like it's goofy and funny, but like that's just how my mind works. But like when it comes to details of certain things, like the business details and digging down into that, very comfortable with that. I love numbers, love metrics.
Okay, so I understand how you wake up. It's one class of entrepreneurs actually wakes up like that. They think about, okay, what's going to happen today? Who do I have to get back to? And then suddenly the energy just floods through them, right? And then they're out of the bed, and then they, it's like bang, they just go out for it.
Like adrenaline,
Yeah. So and in terms of details, I totally understand what it's like to have to read instructions for microwaving something, because especially from what you've mentioned, it's not that energizing. It's not like something that you would like feel very excited. Oh wow, we're gonna microwave something right now. Yeah, let's go. It's I don't see Paul doing that.
Yeah, so, that's a good point. I never thought that about myself. Yeah, that's awesome.
But when it comes to business goals, business outcomes, it sounds to me like that's where the energy is. But and I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark. Finance and financial details, accounting, right? Versus, okay, here's the consulting process for local business. I mean, between the two, my assumption is the latter is going to drive you more energy. Am I right?
Yes, 100%, 100%. In fact, you're spot on. Like the consulting side, what's going to drive my client's business forward, their business forward, is much more exciting to me than the numbers, than the number side of things. Now, when it comes to numbers, the numbers I like is what kind of sales are they going to see? What kind of, results are going to happen from that? Sure. But as far as like the detail stuff of, all right, let's put this into a spreadsheet and figure out what my, earnings was and this and that, and like, EBITDA and all that stuff, not as much, but what, the consulting side, love those details. So, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you deal with analytics, like, SEO data, search engine marketing data. How does that come across to you? Because it can be quite a handful for the average person to cope with.
Yeah. there's a lot of data to look at. A couple things I look at most importantly is the behavioral flow metrics when you're looking at reports. So that kind of takes you through inside Google Analytics. When people land on a page, where do they go next? So it helps you kind of understand in their mind, where do they go next? And then how long are they on each page by average? So those are couple of the most important things I look at initially, right? Because then you understand how they're flowing through the process.
I see.
Because marketing's taking people through a path, right? So you want to make sure they're following the right path, that you've laid out the correct path for them. And so then you can figure that out. And if you're seeing that they're jumping off of a page really fast, then you're like, okay, there's a problem there. We need to fix that. And so, okay, do I need better copy that hooks them, that keeps them on that landing page longer? Do I need to add more visuals, a video, better article, more spacing in the article? There's a lot of little things you can do that would improve upon like their stick rate. And then going back to looking at the overall picture, okay, how much traffic are we looking at? Where is the traffic coming from? And then you could even take it a step further and say, well, our SEO traffic has this much time on site compared to Google Ads traffic, right? So, trying to figure out what that looks like. The other data I love looking at is what keywords you're being found for. Because sometimes there's a lot of random keywords that you're like, wait, you're being found for that, but then you realize like, oh, okay, maybe I should go optimize that article for that more, because I'm on page 3 and I'm getting traffic for that. So let's go fix that, and get us to page 2, So those things I love looking at. That's the data that makes me excited. I joke, with my business partner about it. I know she would be a funny one to interview after this with me, but it's like, it's just funny because I'll get so excited about these little details like that all energizes me, which is odd because, I love public speaking. I love crowds. I love people, being around people. But then I also get excited over what some would call the minutia, the small details, like, oh my goodness, the bounce rate went from here to here. Like, this is, yes, let's go. That excites me just equally. Or if we take a client's account and they were getting $3 per click and we took them to $1.25 a click, you may as well just put me in a gym with 100,000 people and I made the winning shot, like that's how excited I am. And I love those things. And so maybe that plays off the energy side, but
I think it does. I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit more than that. So let's go back to like things like the bounce rate and how you deal with that and stuff like that. What happens when you notice you get a certain kind of a result? What do you say to yourself? What do you see inside your head?
Yeah, when you see the result?
Yeah.
Oh, like celebration, elation, excitement. It's like a
alone.
Rush.
Are you alone? No, right? You're with people. You're celebrating with people.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's more virtual, but yeah, usually it's taking a screenshot and sending it to people to show people like, look what we just did. Sharing with the client, sharing with business partners, sharing with coaching students, sharing with people. Like I share the victories with people.
So okay, that in my opinion is the holy grail of this entire thing. I think that's the essence of the energy. You're driven by people. You're driven by the accountable, and the advantage of that is that it becomes a form of accountability, not because you want to account for something, but because you're excited for people. You're excited for the results that and the difference in their lives that it has generated. So in that sense, it's no wonder why you would dive into those details, because it doesn't seem like like EBITDA is gonna make a major difference to people's lives outside of your own, of course. But there's a rational reason why those things actually appeal to you. And I think that's great, because it tells me about the overall mix. So I shall attempt to recount Paul counts. So there's an opportunity, and that opportunity is always fit within a specific context, which is driven always by people and people's needs.
Yeah.
And people's needs are constantly met through a variety of different actions that are being taken. Some of these actions lead to not so positive outcomes, but that's also a learning opportunity. so that if in the next cycle, next iteration of learning or execution, other people can benefit from that, whether it's your cycle of going through internet-based business, and then subsequently coming full circle and teaching younger teens how to do that as well.
Yeah.
And it's driven by a certain ethic of, look, everybody's different. You know, my clients are different, my students are different, these businesses are all different. So how they respond is really going to be a clue to assist in their, you know, development and their growth. And when I can notice these differences between what they used to be and what I have contributed, it's not them, it's me. You know, I've done this. You know, I've done this for
Right.
them. So that becomes even more exciting because you know that you've already proven some value. You've delivered,
Yes.
which is what you've mentioned. So, you know, the content, you know, no nonsense, no fluff, right? Just to be able
Right.
to give stuff which is going to develop them, and that's probably one of the reasons why. You know, you're not afraid of shark infestations because you make friends with the sharks. I mean,
Yes.
it's like, you know, hey guys, you need more food? You know, I'm gonna find it for you. Uh, there's no reason to be afraid of that, to be honest, if that's what's happening. So
Yeah.
no wonder you thrive on competition, because competition means there's people.
Yeah.
When there's people,
That's
you will thrive. It's just the expression on people's faces, the results that they've got, the changes, the little tweaks that make the small things that make a big difference, right? Which
yeah.
is usually the case. Everybody's thinking about the big thing. Oh, this big campaign, is my landing page good? But then again, it's like the missing pieces of that landing page. You know, you mentioned alt
Yeah.
tags and stuff like that. Which you know, it doesn't surprise me why um, it is so cogent. I personally feel that through this interview, um, you you are one of the rare few, I think, whom have been shown a path,
Yeah.
and you've been walking on it ever since. Because it's not like, okay, you know, I'll just call this quits. I mean, even for myself, I've kind of in between the period of time when I've met
Yeah.
you and since I started my corporate training, I've kind of like moved away from internet marketing in
Oh
a
yeah.
very real sense. Because there really was, at a point of time in Singapore, at least, way too much negativity, way too much
Right.
negative energy. But on hindsight, I should have stuck on. You know, I should have, you know, thought about it a little bit more
Yeah.
carefully and not succumb to the cyberbullying that was available.
Oh yeah.
And there's just so much of it going on right now. And I think I'm a little bit envious of the fact that there is um, that your journey was made with a very clear vision in mind. As far as I can tell, it's all about the customer and the benefit, the value
Yeah.
that is derived from that relationship.
Right.
So if I had learned that lesson a long time ago, it may have turned out to be different, you know. So you hang in there, you are excited because this new thing, whatever is new, if there's anything new anymore in the
Yeah.
world, could potentially help somebody. But it seems like over the years, you've already accumulated a huge toolbox that, to be honest, there's really no reason why you need to go anywhere else, because most of these things are already going to generate a positive
Right.
return, whether it's SEO or whether it's
Yeah.
you know, email marketing and so on. So it's nice to see that there's someone who's cogent, who is targeted, clear, and has been walking this path ever since. The tangible material location where you do this may have changed. Like,
Yeah.
it may have been PLR, but or it may be an agency type business or a brand business, brand strategy business, but it's still utilizing the foundational elements, and you're still true to that. And I
Yeah.
think this is something which is it's yeah, it's something that most other marketers uh, should be embracing, right? It's
Yeah.
not like another bright shiny object. It's
Right.
just something else that I know can serve a customer, and I integrate it into my tool set and in
Mhm.
my workflow. We haven't even
Yeah.
talked about workflow, but I think I won't steal um, that piece of your business, at least not now. Uh, but you know, it's again, we were talking about doing the mastermind and all that. I think
Yeah,
there's a huge amount of opportunity
there is.
in having like-minded people thrive with like-minded people. So
Oh yeah.
I'm really grateful for this inside look, this peek into your
Yeah.
mind.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know, you know, you mentioned that you're gonna learn something about
I
yourself.
have.
Did I
Yeah. I
did I
have
deliver
learned.
on that?
Yeah. I did learn stuff already. I mean, it was amazing. Like my head is still spinning like, okay, there's some things about me that I didn't know, that it's fascinating. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love this. I think it also gives a little bit of a heads up to other people who are, you know, it's like, okay, it's true to the same philosophy, Paul, because it is
Yeah.
not about, okay, hey, here's an interview and we're gonna, you know, blast our list and make them buy stuff. It's not that. It's
Yeah.
behind the scenes. It's the understanding of what happens when somebody falls. It's the pain that we felt as we went along in life and in business as well.
Yeah.
That sometimes people don't see as the thing that makes
Right.
the entrepreneur actually work. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna score that goal.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as straightforward as, yeah, I came, I saw, and I conquered. You know, it
Right.
sounds really simple, but it's not that.
Yeah. It's not. No.
Oh, okay. Well, I really appreciate this. Thank you very much for the time.
No, thank you.
Is there do you have any sort of like parting words for our audience, whether they're online or whether they're listening
Yeah.
replay?
I mean, I would say just, don't worry about getting knocked down because you're going to get back up again. I mean, that's honestly what it is. I mean, if just keep fighting. Don't dwell on the past and move forward as quickly as you can, and then you'll bounce back quicker. You're going to find that it gets easier every time too when you bounce back quickly.
Mm.
So yeah, those probably the best words of wisdom I've got. And I'm telling you, this was phenomenal. I'm going to say it right off the bat, the best interview I've ever done. I went into it feeling that way, and it was very, very fun to go through this process. And so thank you for doing this and having me.
Wonderful. You know,
Yeah.
I see things that we might end up doing together as well eventually.
I love that.
Yeah, let's keep the doors open. I really appreciate that. Even though, I mean, technology, my goodness, the fact
Yeah,
that you're on the other side of the world and we're doing this, what else could we do for the people around,
exactly.
right? That
Yes.
would be powerful. Okay, so Paul,
Yeah,
thank you so much. I really
thank
appreciate your time.
you. Yeah.
Really appreciate you being out there in the prime of the midnight
Yes.
hours. And you're probably gonna do something after this. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I really hope that your vision will come true for the teenagers that you're working with in the
Thank
high
you.
schools and so on, and more with
Yeah.
your agency and your partnership right now. So yeah, if there's anything that you feel that I am going to be able to contribute, I'll be very happy to hear that. So for those of
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
who are on this recording or you're listening to this replay, once again, thank you very much. The transcript will be out very soon. I'm gonna make sure that I get this out to you guys at the same time. If you want to visit and find out more about Paul, you can visit him at paulcounts.com. And more importantly, his current business and the business model that he's on is marketingcounts.com. So go ahead, go and visit him, go and check him out. If you're on Facebook, you can go, I suppose they could make friends with you, right? I'm not sure
Yeah.
how
Paul
publicly
counts.
you
Yeah.
are.
They'll find me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and just,
follow me on there. Yeah.
yeah, just go follow him and just check out whatever he's up to. Because in my opinion, for someone to start at age 13 and to continue to be on this path, man, that's something that blows my mind. I mean, to a certain extent, I couldn't say that I have been a speaker since I was 13 because I wasn't.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be a speaker. So I suppose I'm lagging behind you by a few years in terms of experience in order to kind of like make it an apples to apples
Yeah.
comparison. But Really, really phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank
I love
you.
your heart. I love your desire to give
Appreciate
back
it.
to people and contribution. So keep at it as usual, and I'll catch you again.
All right. Thank you so
Take care.
much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.